Next speaker, we have Joe Saunders. Joe from Australia, and his designation is social media and content marketing strategist. And Joe Saunders is an international LinkedIn expert, digital marketing strategist, and social media educator who has been helping individual connects and communicate since the early 90s through pen and paper events and social media. She guides professionals and organizations to communicate their brand message, showcase their talent, build thought leaderships, and engage with their ideal audience in the era of social business through training, mentoring, and consulting. Joe is known for demystifying the complexities of LinkedIn and social marketing tools and has trained thousands of people around the world. She was named one of the top 200 LinkedIn practitioners in the world, ranked number 5 on Kahoot! An expert list, and has been an Australian Web Award judge for 3 years. Joe is the co-author of Get Good or Get Off, a guide to getting it right on social media.
Conference, and thanks to every attending giving up their Saturday or whatever day it is for you guys, depending on where you are around the world. So my session is all about leveraging the power of LinkedIn, and it's under the growth hacking subsection, but it's really about building your personal brand and relationships and thought leadership. So there's 3 components to what I specialize in LinkedIn. So let's just get started. There we go. So LinkedIn's really all about being found, remembered, and chosen by your ideal clients, by strategic partners, or your ideal employer, depending on where you're at. But if we focus on clients in this particular case, it's about being found by them, building relationships with them, and producing content that's going to help you get chosen by them, so you're top of mind for the right reasons. And the reason I specialize in LinkedIn is that it's all about business, it's all about relationships, and it's the largest professional social network. And it sits in amongst the other platforms and obviously your website and email marketing and things like that. So it's quite a powerful tool. So what we want to start with is thinking about who is your ideal client, having that clarity around who they are, and then think about what is it you actually do, and can they find you? So I'm going to go through a few things with your profile. Getting clear on what you want to be known for, and then how does your profile rank, be it in Google or in LinkedIn itself, because that's where people are looking for you. They're looking in Google because you want to stand out. So you're going to be in a crowded market potentially of competitors, but how are you going to particularly stand out? How are you going to place your brand so that you've got 8 seconds or less, probably more like 5 these days or less, to capture attention. So it's really standing out for the right reasons. So with LinkedIn and with any social media platform, I've created this circle of social business. So there's 4 components to creating your online presence. So it's getting, like I said, clear on who your ideal clients are so that you can create a branded profile that I like to call customer centric. So it's really all about them. Then the other component is your network, building a network of connections on LinkedIn. How are you going to connect to them? Who are you going to connect to? What the process is. And then creating content that is of relevance to your ideal clients for that thought leadership piece. So there's creating content, curating content, and repurposing. And then finally, from all that, you'll create a community. So you'll create your own community within LinkedIn, where people come to you for advice and guidance around your topic of expertise, and you build that influence. And of course, if you've got a team, you can leverage them as well. So that's the foundations of how I work in terms of profile building. But if you look at your profile, before you even get started on optimizing it, I like to think of this map here. So getting clear on what your values are, what your big vision is. So your values are really what grounds you, where you're going to be going, and then through what voice are you going to be using. So for example, by voice, I mean, are you going to be very conversational and friendly? Are you going to be quite controversial, or are you more conservative? So where are you on that scale? And taking that through your online presence, be it LinkedIn, be it Facebook, your website, because you want people to get to know you and build trust with you. So that's the foundations of your profile, but the other parts of your profile are your expertise that you bring to the table. So this is your actual work experience, your education's qualifications, projects you've been involved with. And then on the other side, knowing who your ideal clients are, what problems do they have and what outcomes are they looking for that you can provide. So this will create a bit of a map for creating your online presence. And through this, there'll be certain keywords and phrases that people will use that then you'll build into your brand so that you're found by them, because you want to stand out for the right reasons, visually and in the search results. So let's look at your profile now and being found. But if we start with Google, which is where most people search, think about if someone's searching for your name. Now, if you're like me, I've got a fairly common name. Joe Saunders is fairly common. So what I did is, just to test this, I signed out of Chrome. So this is Googling my name without any indication. And if you look at the results here, my LinkedIn profile outranks my website. So that's the power of LinkedIn. If you've got a optimized profile that you're using on a regular basis, it could outrank your website, but you want it to outrank other people's profiles and other occurrences of your name. And you want that result to be clickable. So if we look at LinkedIn now, if you look at what we're searching within the LinkedIn database, so in this example, we're looking for effective meetings as a phrase. And when you look at the search results, these people obviously come up with their name, their headline, and their photo, and you're forming an opinion of them. So you want this first impression to be clickable. So what do I mean by clickable? Obviously, you want to have a photo that is professional and friendly and approachable, and you want to have a headline that positions you. So I'll go into that in more detail. So then once you've clicked on a profile through the results, then you're actually taken to the full information. And you want this to be scannable. You want people to look through it and get a feeling for who you are, how you can help them, and what next. So in this example from the previous, David's a professional speaker and he's got an expert topic. His photo backs that up and his information also backs it up, and it takes them through a journey, and the contact information is there for people to click on. But if you think about first impressions, without a photo or a photo that looks like you and branded information, you're essentially turning up to a physical networking event with a bag on your head, and we would never do that. So having a unoptimized profile is like networking with a bag on your head. So make sure that you've taken the time to brand it, because a profile with a photo is 21 times more likely to be clicked according to LinkedIn. So if you think about that key thing I just talked about there, the headline, this is the thing that follows you around everywhere. It comes up in search, it's in the news feed, it's what people see when you're in conversations. And it's the one thing that they're going to be able to judge you by. So if you look at these three examples on the screen, the first one doesn't give any context. It's all about the position. We don't really know what they do. The second one down, we know what they do, but we don't know what topic they'd speak about. Whereas the third one is more of a positioning statement. So we know the area the person works in, who they help, and then their business name. And this is the formula that I've come up with. I've got a few different formulas, but this is the most common one I use with clients. So it's about working out your expertise, your title, and then your company. Now this is only relevant if you really want to promote your company name, and if your company name is something that's related to actually what you do. So that's a nice way to position yourself so that you stand out in LinkedIn, but you're also found for what you do. So here's my profile to show an example. Now I don't use my business name in my headline because I talk more about the problem I'm solving and what I'm doing. So in this example, I've changed it since then, but right at the end, I've got this hashtag LinkedIn Local, which is a project that I was working on locally. But mine is focused on what I actually do, so LinkedIn training, connection and content strategy to grow your business. So you've got 120 characters to position yourself in your headline. And like I said, it follows you everywhere, so you want to take the time to craft that one. And use a background image to brand yourself. So you could create an image with text over, as I have. You could just have a photo, but something to do with your brand, your story, your interests. And then you've got this next part, your summary, which is the extension of telling that story. So we talk about the summary. Actually, let me just go back to the summary here. So the summary is the second box here with, you've got about 200 characters to tease people into clicking read more. And then you've got 2,000 characters for the whole piece. So you want people to click and read more about you. But you want that summary to be a piece that positions your authority, has some personality, and persuades people to do something. So here's a couple of examples of summaries. So the first one, A, and we've got this, and the second one, B. Now, when I do presentations locally, I always get the audience to say which one would they prefer to read, A or B? And pretty much 100% of the time, B. And it's because it is scannable, there's plenty of white space, and it's easy to read. Whereas the one on the left is very clustered, lots of technical information, and it's just very tiring to read. So you want to make that summary scannable. You want to use the right words so you're findable, and you want to have some personality in there. So write it in a way that sounds like you're speaking to your ideal client. One thing I've developed is a 7-step formula to create this, and it's part of my online training. So I do LinkedIn profile reviews, and part of that is I give clients a blueprint which includes all my formulas so they can write it themselves. And if you're interested in that, let me know at the end. The next part of your summary, your profile, is your experience. So the experience section consists of your job roles, your education, and volunteering. So with your current role that you're in, you want to make sure that you're showcasing your expertise in the role. So make sure it's linked to a company page, and you can see that by the icon here. Make sure the title talks about what you actually do, the problem you're solving, not just your role. So if I could have something like business owner or consultant, then there's no context. Always think about, is this going to help me get found? Are people going to understand what problem I solve? And then you've got the description here. So I've got a 5-step process for writing that. And then at the bottom, we've got the media. And the media adds some visual component to your profile, so you can show some evidence such as videos and show reels, PDF documents, all sorts of things to back up what you say you can do. And with the experience, you want to make sure that, like I said, you're connected to a company page. So on mine, you could see the logo of my business. But if yours has a grey box, like in this example, that either tells you you're not connected to the company page, the company doesn't have a thumbnail logo, or the company page doesn't exist. And that's a really easy one to fix. It takes all of probably about 10 minutes to set up a company page, and it just adds that branding to your profile. Now, if you're part of a team, this is where a company page is essential because it connects the team together. So this little diagram, you can see that you've got the company page at the center, and we've got 5 employees. Some are connected together, and they've all got their own networks. So it's really important to connect the team to the company page. And there's many reasons to do that in terms of content and engagement, reaching more people in your networks. And also with experience, like I said, you've got the ability to add these documents. Now, like I said before, we've got education, so your formal qualifications, and volunteering. So think about anything that's going to add some value to what you do. So it could be committee work, business related or personal, or charity work, for example. And then finally, we've got the social proof component. So this is the skills and endorsements. So you have up to 50 skills, and the skills need to match what you actually do, the problems you're solving, using the language of your clients. And then you can be endorsed for these skills, which is essentially someone saying, yes, you can do that particular thing. But more powerful than endorsements are recommendations. And these are words that people have written about what you've done for them. And make that part of your process so that you're asking for recommendations when you work with clients. And then finally, the final part of your profile is your accomplishments. So this is the other stuff that adds some credibility. So here's 2 examples. But so things like courses. So this is your professional development you've done, certifications you've achieved. It could be organizations you're a member of, projects you've worked on, publications that you've been part of. So that could be a book, it could be an ebook, it could be a white paper, it could be an interview, it could be a video. But you can link to them, which is great. Or in this case, it could be an online course, which I've got on my profile. Languages you speak, so if you've got multiple languages, certainly celebrate those. And anything else you've achieved, like honours and awards, or test scores, or even something else. So that's your profile in a nutshell. So you want to make sure it's optimized to be found so that you come up in the LinkedIn searches, but you also come up in the Google searches. So if people are looking for some, the area of your expertise, you're going to come up. But that's only part of the equation, setting up your profile. The other part is using LinkedIn, because the more active you are, and the more you leverage your network, the bigger results you're going to get down the track, which is the growth hacking aspect. So if you think about the so being remembered and chosen, because you want to build that what I like to call leadership and influence. So let's start with connecting. I mean, you've got LinkedIn, you can search for people. So you can use advanced search to find your ideal clients, but you've also got incoming requests to process. But if we look at actually reaching out to people, so say, for example, you've been to a networking event, you've heard some speakers at this conference, maybe you've heard me speak at this conference, and you search my profile. So you search for Jo Saunders, you see my profile photo and know that that's me, and then you hit the connect button on desktop. And then what you've got you can do next is you get this little box and you can add a note or send. Now, I always encourage people to add a note to introduce yourself, because now you can add that context to the relationship. So you can say, "Hi, Jo, I was at your session at the conference. I really enjoyed blah, blah, blah." And there you go. Because if I don't look at this for a few weeks, I might forget who you are. But just make it about the person. So you're reminding them as to who they are. Now, on mobile, it's a bit different. You don't want to be hitting the connect button on the mobile app, because that doesn't allow you to have a personal message. You want to be adding, going to the 3 dots to the more, because you want to be personalizing it that way. I can certainly help you if you're not sure where that is. But look for the 3 dots on the mobile app. Another thing to keep in mind is when you're connecting to somebody, so say it's someone that you don't know particularly well, but you've heard them speak, you've read their content, something about them. You can use LinkedIn to gather some data about them, so you've got that ability to reference things. So here's an example of so Graham. You can see by his photo he speaks often. Whoops, let me go back. There you go. But if we scroll down his profile, we can get to this section here, articles and activity. And what we can see here is that he has published some articles, some content, and he also engages in activity. If we click see all, we can now look at that information, we can engage with it, but when we connect with him, we can now reference it and say, "I loved your article about blah, blah, blah. I really agree with your comments about whatever it was." So that's the power of using LinkedIn as a research tool. Now, one question I get asked often is, who should I connect to? Should I accept everybody? Well, my answer is it depends. It depends on your situation. But there is power in building a network, because this diagram is just to illustrate that. So you're in the center, this is your profile, you've got your first level connections. These are people you've accepted or you've sent a request to and they've accepted. And what happens once you've accepted is they're in your network now. You can see their content in your newsfeed, they can see your content in the newsfeed, potentially, depending on the LinkedIn algorithm. As soon as you engage with their content, you're now activating the second level. So if I'm connected to Bob has shared an update, I've decided to engage with this update. Now what happens is, by engaging, Bob is now, I'm now giving exposure to Bob to my own network firstly, but my comment will now potentially be seen by his network. So he's sort of in the middle. So I'm activating his first level network, which is my second level network. So this is the orange line in this diagram. So if the first person here is Bob, let's put the second one down because he's actually got connections. So this person here is Bob, and he's connected to Sarah. So by Bob engaging with my content, Sarah may see it. She may actually engage with the content, which activates her network. That's the power of LinkedIn. And the more people you connect to, the more exposure you've got. But you want to make sure that your network is relevant. So don't just connect to every man and his dog. Make sure you're connecting to people that there's a reason. You can actually put them in a category almost. You don't necessarily have to have met them all, or it's more about, do you want to know them? Do you want to build a relationship with them? So I hope that makes sense. And I just mentioned content, so you can obviously use LinkedIn to research content. So if you're on someone's profile, and this is obviously, if we talk about your own profile, because you've got these stats here. So if you scroll down your profile, you get this grey box, and you can see who's viewed your profile, who's viewed your posts, and weekly search appearances. Now, these numbers themselves, don't get too hung up on them because they don't really mean a great deal. But it's nice feedback to show that what you're doing is working. So if people are viewing your profile and those views are staying at a fairly, consistent level or growing. You want them to grow, really. It just means what you're doing is attracting people to look at you. So you want to aim for consistency or sort of more people. But if it drops off, then maybe either your content's not interesting or you're not using LinkedIn. So it's good feedback. The weekly search appearances give you some indications to where are you coming up in searches. It doesn't give you a great deal of relevance to its context, so you don't really know if people are clicking on your profiles. You don't know where you come up in searches if you're on, the first couple of results or if you're on page 10. So that in itself isn't particularly useful. So I just wanted to mention that. But what is useful on your own profile or somebody else's is this content aspect here. So this is obviously my profile, and we've got articles and activity, as I showed you for Graham. So if you can use it to research people, but this is also anchored content for me. So anytime that I comment, like, or share someone's updates, it comes up in the activity. And if I publish an article, it comes up here. Articles are important because that's where you get that thought leadership aspect. And I've published quite a lot now. But you want to be talking about things in your area. So make your articles relevant. It's all about context, so people can connect with it and understand what you actually do, how you fit. And when you publish articles on LinkedIn, it's kind of like publishing a blog in a sense. You publish it, it sticks to your profile, and it's there indefinitely. When it's published, some people may see it, but the likelihood now is it's been dropping. So what you need to do then as part 2 is to promote that article. So you're creating a post to share that article with your network, so then it will fall into the news feed, and you can do that multiple times to make sure you've got exposure. And then it will show up in the all activity area. So where do we do that? So this is the LinkedIn home screen, and I've color coded it by activity just to give you a bit of an idea. So if we're talking about sharing content, this green box here is where you do that. So if you click on the box, you can share a post, which can be text, it can be photos plus text, it could be video. Now, just a side note with video. Video was rolled out a few months ago, and it's still being rolled out to some people. On the mobile app, you can add a video that you've got on your phone, up to 10 minutes. On the desktop, now you can't see it here. You may have an extra button here that says video. Mine is currently hidden, so I need to click inside the box, and then the video button comes up. So if you don't see it, try that trick. It may be there. And what that allows you to do is to upload a video from your desktop, but make it relevant and think, well, it's being updated as a post, so it needs to be interesting content. It needs to generate conversation. So sharing a video that's a very promotional piece, like an advert, that's not going to engage people, unless it's something quite controversial, or you're asking questions about it or opinion. So just think about where it fits. So that's content that you can share here. If you want to share an article, a blog, essentially, click on the Write an Article button, and that will open up a document that looks a bit like a WordPress document or even a very basic Word document. And now you can write your article. Now, one tip, when you're writing articles, I would advise writing it, don't write in LinkedIn, write it offline first. So it might be in Pages, Word, wherever you work, wherever your workspace is, could even be Google Docs. So create it somewhere else and then copy and paste it into LinkedIn. LinkedIn will do an autosave as it goes along, but it's good to work somewhere else, just so you've got a backup copy. And with the article, you've got the ability to do some formatting, some basic formatting, such as bolding, underlining, hyperlinking. You can embed photos, embed videos. There's quite a bit you can do. You just can't change the color of the fonts and that sort of thing. But you could create graphical fonts to make headings and so make it look visually interesting that way. So that's articles. And so that's posts. So that's your content piece. The other way of sharing content is looking down a news feed, finding something of interest, and then clicking the share button. What the share button does is it picks up this piece of content, sort of uproots it, and now you're sharing that content as your own, but with a reference point. So you're adding your thoughts to it. So that's another way of adding content to LinkedIn. And then there's the engagement piece, so engaging with your network, which is simply liking and commenting. Now, liking, all that does is really sends it forward to your network, but we don't know why you've liked it. If, however, you click comment, what you're doing there is adding your thoughts. So it will hit the news feed with your commentary, but then the person whose content it is, they will see your comments. Their network will see your comments potentially, and that's where that that diagram with the first, second, and third level connections are in. So if this person's content in this example here, I comment on that, they're obviously my first level connection, well, presumably. So what happens is I comment on that. Their network may see it. They may see it in the thread. They may see it on the newsfeed. And if they comment, they are my second degree network. And they're exposing my comment to their network, which is 3 degrees away. They could then comment. So I hope that's making sense. So that's really the growth hack of LinkedIn. It's not something you can automate. You need to be really systematic and streamlined about it. So how often are you going to do these activities? Is it a daily activity that you're going to scan the news feed to look for content to engage with or to share? Is it a weekly activity? So work out what's right for you. And if you're not doing anything now, then just get started and do it, maybe once a week, maybe twice a week. But keep in mind that if you haven't optimized your profile, whenever you're active on LinkedIn, people are making a judgment on you. So if we look on this example here, there's my snapshot, but once again, you can see my name, my photo, my headline. Obviously, I'm logged in the profile, you can see the background as well, but generally these are the 3 things you see, and this is what you're going to be forming an opinion on if you don't know me yet. So if I've just got here, like I said, consultant or advisor or director, and that's all I've got, there's no context. So make sure that you've optimized your profile in addition to being active on LinkedIn. Because when you're active on LinkedIn and you build up your authority and you start engaging in content, publishing your own content in your area of expertise, you'll attract opportunities. So this is just an example of something that I attracted recently. I mean, obviously this opportunity has been attracted through LinkedIn. Subhash would have searched LinkedIn. He sent me an email on LinkedIn and invited me to speak at the conference, which is great. Now, this conference in San Diego next year is the largest social media conference in the world. It's something I set as a goal for in a few years' time. And they came to me partly because of LinkedIn and the presence that I built up, but the other platforms that I use as well, plus my website. So it's building that brand authority, that expertise in the area you speak on. So we're getting really clear what that is. So I want to end with a bit of a path, what I call my map of social business. I'm going to run through now, piecing it all together as to how you can use LinkedIn to build relationships with your ideal client. So if you want to, we'll pick an example. Say you want to build relationships with financial planning companies in your area. And they're your target market, and you want to work out how you can build that relationship and get in front of them. So you might use LinkedIn search. You might have a whole. So do you want me to sort of start near the beginning, or when did the freezing happen? Like how far into the presentation? That's good. Great. Okay, so I'll continue that on full screen again, so hopefully we'll have no issues. So okay, so I'll just continue where we're up to. So just to bring all this together, the different components, I wanted to share this map of social business and just go through an example as to what you could be doing for your business or your goals. So if we start with LinkedIn search, so if we have a list of, we're going to create a list of ideal clients we want to work with. So for example, if you want to work with, I mentioned financial planning companies, it could be real estate agents, it could be lawyers. You might decide, where are they located, some different things about them to help you find them in LinkedIn search. So if you conduct some search strings, and you can get quite advanced with the search, you then come up with a shortlist. So from the shortlist, you're going to then look at which people are you going to try and build a relationship with instantly that are relevant. So just for numbers' sake, you might decide 10 people are who you're going to target this month. So what we're going to do then is look at that list of 10 people and start by viewing their profile on LinkedIn. Now, the reason you want to just look at their profile is you leave a footprint behind, so people know you've actually looked at their profile. They get that, Joe's looked at your profile kind of notification. And while you're there, you can look at their recent activity, see what kind of content they're sharing, if any, what they're engaging with, and if they're even there at all. They may not be active on LinkedIn. So this is when you look to other platforms. You might look at their Facebook, you might look at Twitter to see where else they're active. So you're looking at their profile, you're leaving a footprint behind, but you're not connecting at this point. Then you may come, this might be even in the same session, or it might be a few days later. You might come back to their profile again, look at their content, you might comment on an article or post of theirs. You might then look at following them on Twitter, following them on their LinkedIn company page, following them on Facebook. So wherever else they are hanging out online, for example. And also that gives you some more context around what they're interested in. And then we're going to be looking at connecting with them. Now, a couple of things could happen here. They may have already sent you a connection request because you've looked at them. You put yourself on their radar, on their map. So if you connected them, though, now you want to reference what you found, some of this social intelligence. So I like to call it connecting with conversation. So on their profile, you hit the connect button on desktop and send that individual note. So you might say, hi, hi Bob, really enjoyed your article about blah, blah, blah. I really agree with your opinion about whatever it was. Or I loved your blog about blah, something else. Or I loved your video about whatever. So it might be a video you found on YouTube. So find that social context that you can bring into the conversation. So now you send a connection request, and what can happen here is they may ignore it, they may accept and ignore your message or not reply to your message, or they may actually respond to your message. So if they respond to your message, now the conversation flows. Then you can respond back to them and start building the relationship in private. If they don't respond to you but accept your connection request, what you can do is actually send them what I like to call a welcome message that you've crafted to introduce yourself a little bit more, but make it all about them. So what you're doing is trying to start a conversation with them. And if they've ignored you, and this is where you can continue on with the engagement publicly, so following their posts, engaging with their posts. But if they don't accept your connection, one thing you could do, this is via their profile, you can actually follow them. So you're not connected to them, but you still get access to their content in your newsfeed because you're following them. So once you're connected or following them, then you can start engaging with their posts and content publicly. You can obviously message them privately if you're connected. You might even share their content with your network with some comments around it. But then you're going to get to the end of this map, for example, where this is your scheduling a meeting stage. Now, the meeting doesn't have to be a physical meeting. It might be scheduling a phone call, scheduling a Skype session, scheduling actually coffee. Or it might just be sending them an email. So it's just that whole taking that conversation and relationship to the next level, which is out of LinkedIn. So the journey isn't to necessarily just be on LinkedIn, it's to take it out of LinkedIn. Because if you think about how we used to cold call, we didn't have this context. So now it's really making a warm connection, a warm introduction, because you've already built that relationship and you've put yourself on their map. And if you look at them often enough or you engage often enough, they're going to know who you are. So that will lead to opportunities. So I'll just summarize. So that's pretty much the end of the presentation I wanted to cover, but it's really about optimizing your profile to be found. So this is really homework for you. So if you want to get the most value out of this session, look at your own profile, search for yourself in Google, log out of Chrome, see where you come up by name and by what you do. But then look at your footprint. Does it communicate what you do? Does it communicate your value? Are people going to find you from through the language you use? And then visually, is it branded well? Then look at your connection strategy. Who are you connecting to? How are you connecting to them? Who are you accepting into your network? And what's next? How are you going to build relationships with them? And then the content piece of the puzzle. What content are you going to engage with and share? So what content are you going to publish, republish, or curate from other people? And then finally, to be chosen, you need an engagement plan. So once you've got these people in your network, you're publishing your own content, but how are you going to engage with them? Often I see with clients that they've got a beautiful profile, well-positioned profile, and they're publishing content, but all they're doing is talking at their network. They're not talking with the network. So it's critical to be spending a chunk of time engaging with those people. So if we go back to that map, that group of 10 people, are you spending time nurturing those relationships? Because it's really important. And then finally, if all this is a bit overwhelming, seek some expert help. You might have someone locally who's a LinkedIn expert that runs workshops, or you might turn to someone like me. One of the things I offer as a starting point is a profile review. And this consists of a video review, which you can then consume in your own time and action. And I take you through what you can improve with your profile right now. It comes with a report and my LinkedIn profile blueprint, which is all the formulas that I've talked about previously. So that's available on my website, wildfiresocialmarketing.com. I do full transformations, which is a complete rewrite of your profile, or creation for some people. I mean, I do many other things, but they're just some of the things that you can get some help with if you need that kickstart to get your branding right. And here's my contact info. So if you want to get in touch with me, here it is. But do feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/in/Jo Saunders, and send me a private message and tell me, where you met me here and what you enjoyed about the session, because it's always good to know, that context around it. And if you're looking to get good at social media, that's my book. You can buy it online in print and PDF version, ebook. So hopefully this has been helpful to you. If you've got any questions about LinkedIn, I'll open up the floor to questions.
Oh, thank you very much.